Today's video, we're finally going to start working on the rear 3-link suspension for this S10. Today, we're going to be using the laser, the paint pen, tape measure, grinder, welder. Let's face it, we're going to be using pretty much most of the tools in my arsenal in my garage. But first, we got to clean up the frame, cut all the brackets off, get it cleaned up, and then we can start mocking everything up. For the rear suspension, I'm using the Barnes 4-wheel drive 3-link Heim joint suspension kit, in addition to a upper shock mount, this shock hoop tower, and a basic lower shock mount. And if you guys want to get 10% off your Barnes 4-wheel drive purchase, hit the link in the description. It'll automatically give you 10% off, or use the code MuddyBeards. Let's go over what a 3-link is really quick. Got the whiteboard up here. So basically you have 3 links instead of 4 links. We got 2 lower links on the frame on the bottom of the axle. We got 1 link on the inside of the frame that goes to the top of the axle. And because there is no triangulating 4th link in order to center the rear axle, we have to run a panhard bar or a track bar in the rear. So it is a very basic system, and the reason that I'm doing it this way is because of packaging. The rear of this has a fuel tank on the driver's side that covers that whole area right here where this upper link would go. So before we can get started on anything, we got to find the center line of the frame, center line of the axle, and what we're going to do is we're going to use tape measure, paint pen, and our trusty laser. This is the most important tool right here. This laser changed my life in doing this type of work. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the center of the frame, mark it on the ground right here, and we're going to find the center of the frame in the front of the S10, mark it on the ground, and then we are going to take the laser and laser all the way down the end and line the 2 lines up, and we have the center of the chassis. And we'll do the same for the axle. We'll just measure the axle, find the center line of the axle, make a big old mark on the back, and we'll shoot the laser down the whole chassis, and then we'll set the axle in front of the laser, and then we will center up the axle. So this is the lower control arm bracket that is going to go onto the frame, and like anything that I build, I don't leave anything alone. I just can't do it. I don't know why. I could just set this up under the frame, just weld it around the frame, and then bolt it on, but I didn't do that. So here's what I did. I kind of messed around with it for a little while. This one, I had to redo it a couple times, but basically what I did is I cut the center out, leaving about 1/8 of an inch at the top here, and I pounded it in, bent the whole center section in, so it's going to slide over the frame, and I'll show you in a second why I did that. And then basically I welded it back together, and I cut off 2 inches off the back, and also ended up cutting this bottom section off right here to kind of give it a better ramp, and so it's not super thick right down here at the bottom. So now that I've figured out how to do this one, let's go ahead and knock this one out, and we will weld these to the frame. Now before I weld these brackets on, I'm going to take a few minutes with the laser and the tape measure and measure from known locations off of the frame from different locations to just make sure that this axle is all centered up under the frame before I start welding all of these on. And let's also talk about a few of the basic guidelines that I'm using to build this rear 3-link. So axle link separation, we want 25% of our tire diameter, so these are 37s. So our distance between our upper link and our lower link on the axle side should be around 9 1/4 inches. On our lower link, we want about 10 degrees of angle maximum on that lower link, and this is all at ride height. And our upper link, we want to keep it as level as possible. And on these rears, I'm running equal length on the upper and lower control arms. That is going to keep my pinion angle pointed at the exact same location through the suspension travel. And we'll talk about the front doing 75% on the uppers compared to the lowers to keep caster angle correct as it goes through the suspension cycle so you don't get weird steering. But we'll talk about that when we do the front 3-link. And then the track bar, you basically just want it as long and as level as possible at ride height. Okay, what we're doing right here with the laser is we're checking our axle link separation. So I want at least 9 or around 9. So from here to here we have about 9 1/4, so that works out perfectly. And then you can see I marked a bunch of red on the ground here. This is where the fattest part of the tire, when it's bolted to the axle shaft here, that's where it would stick out, because I don't want this axle link to run into it and have that issue. So we have clearance for our tire here. We have good angle coming from the frame to the farthest point that I want to put it on the axle. We got our axle link separation, and that is really all that we can do on this bottom one. And it turns out the TJ rear links that I had, the same ones, the same exact kit that I have, is literally the exact same length that I need for this one. It bolts right up. I haven't even broken these loose yet. So that will save me DOM tube, and just in case I make a mistake or whatever, I'll have extra. I'm just gonna reuse these, but obviously I will replace the Heim joints and all those pieces, because those need to be replaced anyways with the new ones from the Barnes 4-wheel drive 3-link kit. This frame side upper control arm bracket is going to give us our only adjustability in this system. My hands are tied on where I'm mounting and welding in all these brackets. This one, I could move it up and down maybe a ½ an inch, so it really doesn't matter where I weld this in. So when we're all done with this, we will have the adjustability to change our link mounting position with these 3 holes. So once we get this thing on all fours at ride height, we can punch all of our numbers into our 4-link calculator, and we can make a decision which hole is going to be best. And we can try one out, drive it around for a while, and move it to the other one and drive it around, 4-wheel it, and we can fine-tune it and adjust it the way that we want to have it ride. So we have to determine where our track bar mount on the axle is going to go, and there's a lot of things to consider because of packaging and the running a coil spring on the back of here instead of like a coilover. A coilover frees up a ton of space on the axle. So I have a track bar bracket, which I'm adding because I don't have a 4-link, and I'm adding a coil spring because I don't have coilovers. And as you can see, this bracket isn't in the way. There's no place for this to go at all without modifying this bracket. And then we have to consider our shock. So where is our shock tab going to go on the bottom of the axle? So I have, this is the old piggyback reservoir king shock that I had on the front of the TJ. I am going to use it on this truck, I believe. I'm going to clean them up, put new stickers on them, make them look nice and shiny again. But I don't know if I'm going to use this one in the front or the rear. Basically, I have to figure out where I'm going to mount this on the axle side and then put this on the axle somewhere, right? It's just like we're running out of room real quick here. I'm going to end up having to cut a corner off of the edge of this coil bracket right here, so this can kind of slide onto the frame right here, and that's going to require me to cut this off. That's why we tack weld things, guys. So I'm just going to cut the tacks. I can take this thing off, I can notch it, and basically these two are going to kind of get welded together and kind of become one piece. Also, this is the coil we're going to be going with. This is a 2021 Jeep Gladiator rear coil. This is off of Nate's blue one. These are the factory coils. He has like a 3-inch lift with the 39s on his wife's Gladiator. These are the stock ones, and I'm using them to mock up my suspension because Gladiator springs, everyone makes them. There's lots of different kinds. They're available off the shelf anywhere. One of the main reasons why I'm going with this is they are super big, beefy, and they're designed by Jeep to be in a truck. This S10 is a truck. So let's go ahead and start redoing the stuff I already did. we got this thing way up in the air, and we're looking at our clearances, and everything is looking good so far. So this track bar mount here on the frame, we got plenty of clearance to the tire, plenty of tire clearance down here on the lower control arms. Track bar doesn't touch the frame. So this side right here, we have 7 inches of up travel right now. And then this side is probably about 9 because it's sitting up a little higher because it's not jacked up evenly. So we got clearance here, clearance here, clearance there. This thing's not gonna have 7 inches of up travel, so it's not gonna stuff up into the bed like this. It's flexing up and down freely. It's not binding. There's no issues with any of that. So that is all the success. Our lower coil bracket that's supposed to go right here, I'm gonna have to fully weld this side right here on the axle tube before I put this guy on, just like that. And once I fully weld the track bar bracket, that's gonna go underneath here, then I can install this, then weld this, and then weld these 2 pieces together. I decided, since I still had some daylight left, to just knock out these upper coil mounts on the frame and get these coils installed and get this thing sitting on its own weight. And you can see right here I'm fiddling around with my jacks and my jack stands because this thing ended up being much taller than I had anticipated, which forced me to readjust all of my jack stands in jack positions in the front. Okay, we got coils on there and it's sitting on its own weight completely in the rear with the coils. So it's probably hard to tell, but it is way too tall, even with these factory Gladiator springs. I know there's no bed on it. This is 160 pounds. I think the bed weighs more than that, but even with me sitting on it and this, it's too tall. This thing got raised up super tall from where I built it. You can see all of my angles. This is the track bar. It was pretty much flat before, and now obviously it is not. And because of that, the whole axle's kind of moved over this way. So I kind of made some temporary coil retainer tabs to hold the top in, and I have my old Montero spring pads on the top, some Jeep pads on the bottom. These are top TJ ones. Those actually work perfect for down here. I added a temporary piece of tube down here just so the coil spring will stay in place under load and it doesn't slip out. Obviously there is work to do here. So if I cut these tabs off here and put it completely flat on the frame, that'll give me 1 inch. That 1 inch isn't gonna be enough. I need probably at least 4 inches. I'm not really sure. Well guys, I'm out of time for today. I still gotta edit this video and have it out for you guys tomorrow, and it's getting dark already. What I'll probably do is tomorrow is I'll throw the bed on, throw the spare tire in, throw the bed rack that's still in boxes, but just get the weight, throw all the weight in there that I think that I'm going to be using around daily driving it, and see where we're at. It kind of turned into what I didn't want it to be, a monster truck, and all my angles are not right anymore because I built it like 4 inches lower. I need to figure out how to lower it down, but I'm gonna get the weight in the back, figure it out, and then we will go from there. Anyways guys, if you want 10% off Barnes 4-wheel drive, click the link in the description. Automatically gives you 10% off, or use the discount code MuddyBeards. We got other discount codes on our website. We got an Amazon store, sell shirts, stickers, stuff like that. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at MuddyBeards4x4. Until next time guys, we will see you back here in the garage.